क्योंकि बेटा आत्मा है तो शरीर ईश्वर है, आत्मा नहीं तो नश्वर है। खत्म। आत्मा, अंतर आत्मा ये चंचल होती है, धोखी होती है। अगर मन मजबूत है तो आत्मा पे काबू पा सकते हो, यदि मन कमजोर है तो ये बेकाबू आत्मा को फिर झाड़ फूंक कर मुक्त करना पड़ता है, लाजमी है। बस।
So the last time you heard me talk about a film overall, it was in my Dil Se analysis last month, where I spoke about how the entire movie, according to me and many other film buffs, is a giant political metaphor that wraps itself nicely into a very ideological love story to appeal to a larger audience that doesn't necessarily understand or care too much about the political undertones the movie was designed to shed some light on. For that section of the society, a very big section might I add, it was just a pain by the numbers love story because director Mani Ratna made it in such a way that it just made sense both ways. Here's a movie that didn't make any sense if you watched it just on face value though. Anurag Kashyap's 2007 psychological thriller No Smoking. That again was a metaphor that spoke about something totally different but conveniently wrapped itself around an apparent story revolving around cigarette addiction. Here's the thing though, unlike Dil Se, which again made all the basic sense in the world, even if you didn't know what it was particularly talking about, Kashyap's No Smoking is a movie that will make you scratch your head no matter how many times you see it without knowing the real life incidents that led up to the release of this film.
कुछ नहीं, जब पता चला कि ब्लैक फ्राइडे हम लोग प्रीमियर के लिए रेडी हो रहे थे और रेडी होकर निकलने से पहले फ़ोन आया कि प्रीमियर कैंसिल हो गया और ब्लैक फ्राइडे पे स्टे आ गया। पता नहीं क्या, मैं बस कमरे में गया, कमरे का दरवाज़ा बंद किया और मैं कुछ 3 दिन तक बाहर नहीं निकला।
No Smoking just doesn't make sense on surface. It's a movie that begins in the middle of nowhere where our protagonist K finds himself at the mercy of some Russian soldiers. He then uses some water around him to break out of this nightmare as we're officially introduced to K, the man, a confident, narcissistic and very arrogant man who has a knack for smoking all the time. Even when in the act.
Will you please stop smoking?
Take the stairs.
What?
Thank you.
Stupid idiot.
K is then forced by the people close to him to join this Prayogshala, which they claim will surely get K to quit smoking. And so, against his own will, K finds himself checking out the quite raved about Prayogshala, where he meets Baba Bengali, who not only forces K into registering, but also uses fear and psychological manipulation to cure his patients off of cigarettes. I mean, one of Prayogshalah's punishments for registered quitters who break the rules during their treatment is to chop off 2 of their fingers. That's not to mention the rest of the punishments are decent in any way though. But as the film progresses, you start wondering if any of this is real or not. K's dead wife suddenly comes back alive with no explanation. His attempt to expose the Prayogshala goes in vain when he's not able to prove anything that has been happening to him. And of course, his soul finds itself in a gas chamber during the climax, where it's ultimately destroyed, strikingly similar to how the German Nazis committed mass genocide on the Jews during World War II. And you're left thinking, what and why? Now I'm hoping most of you have already watched No Smoking, but I'll go one step ahead and ask you all to first watch this brilliantly done video essay on the film by Tripping on Cinema. They help us at least understand the what after watching the film, explaining how water is used as a medium to transition between reality and K's subconscious, and much more. But to summarize, smoking is just a metaphor used in No Smoking to really draw parallels to the human psyche. With semiotic elements weaved into the mise-en-scene of almost every shot, No Smoking leaves a lot to the imagination of the viewer. Consider it an abstract painting that allows you to interpret it the way you want to. Strictly told from the subjective viewpoint of our protagonist K, the film constantly juggles between reality and illusion, quite similar to how David Fincher's Fight Club follows the subjective viewpoint of an unreliable narrator throughout its runtime, making the viewer question the credibility of the story they're being told at every step along the way. Kashyap's No Smoking takes this narrative style and furthers the philosophy of the 1800s German novelist Franz Kafka, a philosophy also known as Kafkaesque, which generally tends to refer to the bureaucratic nature of capitalistic, judiciary, and government systems, the sort of complex, unclear processes in which no one individual ever really has a comprehensive grasp on what is going on. In fact, Kafka's famous 1925 novel The Trial is entirely about his protagonist Joseph K. getting arrested, trialed, and punished for a crime he's kept unaware of all this while. That was the what, admittedly in a highly condensed manner. Then there's the why, which is really what I'm interested in exploring. See, by now, most of us already know that No Smoking was Kashyap's third feature film after his first got banned by the CBFC and his second feature got banned by the government. So by the time 2007 rolled in, Kashyap was already a cornered man trying his hardest to keep his creativity intact after getting shut down by the authorities time and time again for reasons apparently never made clear to him. Hence, the Franz Kafka reference, where again his protagonist Joseph K. has no idea what he's on trial for.
Because of that, this film that I made, it got banned. I got even more angry. I was like, here's my statement and nobody is allowing me to, show it on screens. And my fight went on with the censor board. That's when I was realizing that, okay, even though we live in a democracy, we can't really say everything. And I almost felt abused by, why can't I say what I feel? It doesn't have to sometimes make sense. I don't really... so what if cinema does not always have a social message? If something doesn't have a social message, they thought it should not be made. In the Indian Constitution, cinema is defined as healthy entertainment. And my film was banned on the grounds it's neither healthy nor entertaining.
No Smoking, in hindsight, is Kashyap's way at expressing his lack of freedom. His protagonist K, although flawed at many levels, even to the point of resentment from the audience, still has the right to exercise his fair share of freedom, which is quite aggressively snatched away from him by the Prayogshala, which really represents both the censor board and the government in Kashyap's case. His soul getting extracted from his body and then perished the Nazi way, and the chopped off 2 fingers in the end represent how the system succeeds in killing your inner conscious for a version of you that is considered right according to their moral, social, and political compasses. After all, the 2 fingers K uses to smoke are presumably the same 2 fingers Kashyap uses to write.
And the fingers I still write with my pen. I still do not use the laptop. But the fingers with which you hold your cigarettes is also the fingers with which you hold the pen. So for me, cutting all those fingers means not letting you write. It's freedom of expression. Every time I was direct, I was banned. I thought this time I'm going to be indirect. This time I'm going to let the world believe that this is a film about anti-smoking.
But from a bird's eye view, is No Smoking really an example of genius or naivety at display? When the movie was first premiered in 2007, reviewers collectively panned the film, with some even calling it an extremely arrogant piece of work and others calling it one big puzzle that refuses to get solved. And we can't blame them. Like I said previously, the movie just doesn't make sense on face value no matter how much time and heart you invest in it. Most of us today, though, actually feel comfortable in accepting the film as is, with some even calling it Kashyap's masterpiece and a movie, quote, ahead of its time. Probably because now, a decade and a half after its release, we know what went behind the making of No Smoking. I personally don't think the movie was ahead of its time, though. It's 2021 as we speak, and I'm sure a release this year would have still resulted in the same critical backlash and disastrous box office performance as it did in 2007. To me, expecting anything else in 2007 or even now in 2021 wouldn't have been wise. But sadly, that's exactly what Kashyap expected from the film upon its release: appreciation. Maybe it was his naivety at that point that led him to believe such a movie will generate any positive acclaim with no backstory whatsoever. Don't get me wrong though, do I believe Kashyap is one of the most prolific filmmakers working in the Hindi film industry today? Hell yes. But do I also believe his movies sometimes suffer from a little too much of the director's self-indulgence with the art? Also yes. And this is still relevant as we speak today. No Smoking is one such example where the director appears to have accidentally or purposefully just forgotten about the audience when sculpting it. And I say purposefully for a very specific reason. See, Kashyap's No Smoking is a movie you're most likely to consider anti-establishment after coming to know what it actually represented, hence wrapping it around a cigarette addiction story and casting a relatively bigger star in John Abraham was probably one of the only few ways in getting a guaranteed release, especially for a man who saw both of his prior films outright banned by the same establishment. In fact, the movie not only managed to eventually see the light of day using this tactic, but also got facilitated by the health ministry, which till the last day believed that it was really a film that dealt with smoking as its subject matter. But while the tactic succeeded in getting the film released, it turned its final watchers' heads in all the wrong ways possible. Again, neither did it work for critics, nor was it able to recover its costs for the same reason. Regardless of whether the director forgot his audience accidentally or purposefully, the extremely self-indulgent film only disappointed its audience upon release. But here's the thing, do I think it's a bad film or that it's probably something that needed some modifications before release? Absolutely not. Ironically, if you were to ask me, I wouldn't even change a single frame from the movie. And that's because regardless of its ambiguity, accidental or deliberate, the mere existence of such a movie essentially serves the purpose that it was made to serve in the first place: freedom of expression. Freedom for a filmmaker to make whatever they wish to make without getting obstructed by the authorities, despite the film being extremely self-indulgent or super arrogant, and also freedom for us, the viewers, to A, interpret it the way we want to, and B, to like it or dislike it according to our interpretation. The film No Smoking is to Anurag Kashyap what a cigarette is to his protagonist K. No matter how arrogant or harmful his relationship with it is, and no matter how much others don't understand it, we simply can't modify it to fit our way of thinking.
What is...
Thank you for watching the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear what you think of No Smoking in the comment section down below. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to Filmanter before you leave. There's a whole playlist of such in-depth video essays on the channel for you to watch, so do share the ones that you liked on your social medias and get your friends to visit Filmanter. With that out of the way, please have a safe week ahead. My name is Amir and I shall see you soon.